much as you look down that list, as you would expect. Milan, who are 5 points ahead of Inter, left out Ancelotti, a bit of a surprise after his recent performances. That Dutch trio right in form, particularly Ruud Gullit. Commentators, Ray Wilkins, who of course had a spell at Milan, and Martin Tyler.
Inter carry the hopes not only of their half of this football-crazy city, but also the other top clubs in the league. A Milan victory today would really confirm their early season claim to the championship. So far, they've looked a cut above the other challengers, but this is a huge test for them. The atmosphere of these derby days, well, it almost defies description, so it's a particular pleasure to have alongside me Ray Wilkins, who as a former Milan player knows all about the difficulties and the delights of afternoons such as these.
I didn't actually find too many difficulties, Martin. These games are just a joy to play in, and the Milan derby is without doubt the greatest derby in the world, in my opinion. The atmosphere is just electric. It's been going on all week. It's a bit like our cup final. They go about it all week, and it's a marvellous occasion, and for the players it's just a pleasure to be there.
It often flies in the face of current form as well, but Milan unbeaten, settling in neatly to life under Fabio Capello now, the successor to Arrigo Sacchi. Walter Zenga in Inter's goal has been through these challenges many times before, born in the city of Milan. Inter also under different guidance this season, and VanBasten has got round the goalkeeper. Massaro's in the centre. Can he pick him out? He can't. Andy Brehme is there, and Inter, who've not really pulled up too many trees. They've only lost once this season, but they found goal scoring very hard, and therefore to concede an early goal here would potentially have been crippling for their hopes in this derby. Here's Massaro. Good running by Donadoni. VanBasten slipped at the crucial moment, and Donadoni then fell. And I don't think really expected to get much help from referee Pierluigi Pairetto. Massaro was very much the architect of the attack. And when Donadoni took it on, VanBasten had already gone to ground, lost his balance in the centre.
I think he actually lost control of the ball as well. That was a brilliant break from Daniele Massaro, and he put Donadoni in with the perfect pass. And the thing about the pass was the timing of the ball. If it had taken another touch, I'm sure they'd have caught Donadoni offside, but the timing was perfect. Donadoni went in on goal, and I think he just lost control at the vital moment. And it looked, here we see it again, it's a great ball from Daniele Massaro. And I think the ball doesn't stay on the floor for Donadoni, it keeps bobbling around. He did get a nudge, but I think he lost control of the ball, and I wouldn't have given a penalty there.
Well, that nudge was by Ferri. The foul on Massaro was by Baresi. But of course, Milan were very happy for the game to go on. Carlo Ancelotti leaning forward there, and Ray, you were a bit disappointed to find that he wasn't picked.
Well, I'm an enormous fan of Ancelotti, and I think in a derby as well, obviously I've never seen Albertini play. I haven't had the privilege of seeing him play, but in a derby such as this, the calming influence of an Ancelotti is vital, and I think that's why Beppe Bray has been brought in for Inter, and I'd like to have seen Ancelotti been playing for Milan to allow the other guys like Rijkaard, Gullit to push forward.
But that's Albertini's pass, and very nearly opened Inter up. Albertini, the 20-year-old who's been getting rave reviews this season.
Yes, and that really was a wonderful through ball as well, just a couple of yards too far for Gullit.
Here he is again, Gullit, and the defender who is penalised here is Marcello Montanari. And it was a question really of interpretation by the referee here as to what damage Gullit might have caused had he been able to go on.
Well, I think, as we see, there was no actual contact, but he did come across with studs flying, and in Italian football, once your studs are up in the air, it's a free kick.
We're in the 12th minute of the 212th Milan derby. Milan, the older club, slightly hold the balance of power in terms of previous results. Donadoni takes the free kick. Oh, and Hullet got his head to it, and Inter scrambled the ball away. You do feel that Milan have come out as the side that really wants to win this game, whereas Inter might be content to get a share of the spoils, or certainly to play on the break.
Definitely. I think when you see the way that both sides are playing, Milan do look a lot more confident on the ball. That was a great ball in from Donadoni, which Hullet rose tremendously well to hit the crossbar. But Milan do look a lot more confident when in possession of the ball. There we go again, and Hullet hitting the underside of the crossbar. But Klinsmann's playing up the front on his own. They're packing the midfield out, Inter, and hoping that they can get runners forward to join it. But it's going to be very difficult for them.
Well, Milan a whisker away from taking the lead. Inter look to show what they're made of here. Forward from Donadoni with great stealth to Massaro. Hoping to pick out Hullet on the opposite side this time. He played in every game this season to answer those who are writing him off because of his fitness problems with that damaged knee. He has been substituted in 5 of the last 7 games, so when they can, Milan try to use him sparingly. VanBasten, knowing that Zenga was very unlikely to make a mistake then.
And it's great to have him back as well, Martin. He's a tremendously charismatic character, and he's great for the game. He's great for us to be able to watch him play as well, because he's a tremendous footballer.
Costacurta, now Maldini. And Massaro, who often shows to all the spectators his innermost thoughts, was a bit unhappy that the ball wasn't switched through the centre, where he'd taken up what he regarded as a reasonable position. Orrico. Here's this zip about Milan that we've been talking about. The confidence born of an unbeaten start to the season. And Inter struggling to hold them off without giving away free kicks. With the side sharing the stadium, of course, it's almost irrelevant to talk about home and away matches. Technically, Inter are at home. And in the home game, they haven't beaten Milan since April 1986. Over that period, 4 Milan wins and a draw. The most recent last March, when a Marco VanBasten goal got Milan in a better frame of mind after that turbulent time in the European Cup that led to their ban. But here's Klinsmann taking them on now. Very much his style, and it is a style that could be weakened by lack of confidence. But he was backing his own ability then, and although Milan feel that the corner has been incorrectly awarded, it has been awarded. And Matthäus has gone across to take it. Baggio waiting on the edge of the area. Berti is there as well. Bergomi closer to goal. Klinsmann trying to get free. And he didn't reach it. Brehme. And again Milan charging out. Must always give the opposition just the aspect of hope that there might be a slip in the line coming out together, but they were orderly then.
I think we say that every time we see Milan play, Martin, in actual fact, but Baresi has them organised in such a way that it's very seldom that you do actually see them get called offside.
Yes, from their point of view, far more pluses than minuses, but they have had goals docked against them when they've been looking at the linesman. And of course, the linesman is only human, and there is the risk of error from his point of view, as well as defensive error. But while they've been employing this style, they've had vast success here. Matthäus to Baresi. Matthäus again. And that's Brehme helping it on quickly to Baggio. That's a good cross. Oh, and Berti wanted an extra touch. A header at goal was on for him if he'd have fancied trying that. It's all about selecting the right option. Pull it for Massaro and VanBasten. Milan have been showing the craft and the class. They've hit the bar, and now they've had a goal disallowed, is it? VanBasten wants to know. Costacurta comes across. It looked a good goal. It is a good goal.
I thought there was a slight hint of offside, actually, Massaro. Massaro seemed to get in front of everybody, and I thought he may well have just been offside. But it was magnificent football. Now, in actual fact, seeing that, he does appear to come from behind them. But it's a great early ball in, and there's VanBasten sticking it in there. It was, in actual fact, a superb goal. It was a great build-up. Albertini played a super little one-touch pass to Goulet to initiate the goal, and it really was a tremendous move.
And for all the protests, it stands for Milan. And Massaro getting the ball accurately across the face of the goal, where VanBasten was arriving at top speed. Even then, it needed some angling in, and he made that look very straightforward. For Marco VanBasten, his 8th goal of the season. And Milan with a lead that they deserved through their appetite and their ambition in the opening phase of the game.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think they've been by far the better side in the opening 20 minutes, and VanBasten is very much like our own Gary Lineker in those positions. He doesn't miss. When he's in that 6-yard box, it's a goal.
Fontolan, Klinsmann, and now Inter have got to show more force and strength of character as well. Very painful to go behind in this fixture. And this is a chance for them to hit back straight away.
It looks a good tackle. Rijkaard did ever so well to get back with Matthäus, who had joined up with Klinsmann very well, and he did put his foot round him, but he did get the ball and pull it away. And I think they're a bit unfortunate to have the free kick against them.
20 minutes gone. Matthäus is there, Brehme is there. Both capable of getting Inter back on level terms straight away. Inter have put up their own wall to try and mask the view of the Milan line, which is being addressed now by the referee, and Franco Baresi has got a yellow card, and he'd be foolish to continue this.
I think what Baresi's actually saying is that he's obviously in front of the wall, but he's gone at such an angle that he is actually 9 metres or 10 yards from the ball. And the referee's not accepting that, and unfortunately for Baresi, he's been booked. He's probably got a few more this season as well, so he wants to be very careful.
Well, the delay adds to the drama. Matthäus, and Rossi scoops it up. Sebastiano Rossi, who played his first league game for Milan in the previous derby, kept a clean sheet then and has been doing that on regular occasions since.
And I think in some games, Martin, you and I could play in goal behind this team. They really are in top form, and they do look a super outfit this afternoon.
And they've kept up their record of having scored in every game this season, which is not always the way with Italian clubs.
It's a very difficult thing to do, keep the goal scoring up to scratch, and they, as you say, they do it on a very consistent level.
Berti. Ferri. Now Brehme. Matthäus. Oh, Berti and Klinsmann didn't run for Inter. Tassotti comes across. Help is there from Hullet. And he's sent tumbling by Andy Brehme.
No complaints from the big man. He just gets up and gets on with the game. That's terrific. It's something we see in Italy every go again. He gets fouled, brought down by Brehme, but he's straight up, no problems. It's probably one of the better sides of Italian football when you see players such as Gullit getting straight up and getting on with the game. It encourages the others to do it. And because unfortunately we do see a lot of play act in Italian football.
Baggio's header. Donadoni got there first in front of Baresi. Right card. Milan getting two players attracted to every ball, really. Another barometer reading, really, of their confidence. Inter not wanting to dwell on it. Matthäus, was it Baresi rather, who played that one? Yes, it was a bit below Matthäus' standards. But Milan, just the one goal to the good, and any misadventure at the back, Inter would suddenly find themselves with confidence flooding through their veins. I hope that might happen from this free kick. Here's Baresi. And Rossi, who is a tall man and used his height and his reach. It was a cross that challenged him, particularly with Klinsmann coming in.
With the cross coming in, as you say, Rossi is a tall guy, and he's travelled a hell of a distance there to get that, and that's a terrific take. And his distribution's been very good as well. He's willing to let the ball go very early.
Fontolan trying to be early with the cross, and Rossi slipped. Oh, and he slips in another sense as well. But it just won't drop for Klinsmann. Any sort of goal would do for him. And maybe there'll be an opportunity now. Matthäus on the ball, and that was Bergomi closest to the cross, hit back by Baresi, and there's offside aplenty. Suddenly Inter starting to show some of their strengths.
Yes, a super cross in, and he does ever so well there to come out and get a punch that. But there's Baresi again, getting that defence up to the 18-yard box, and there's 4 of them offside.
Into themselves, 7 games unbeaten in the league, but 5 of those have been drawn. Massaro, VanBasten, Albertini, it's just too intricate. Inter starting to settle to their method. Brehme. Baggio couldn't control Hullet. Massaro, who's lost none of his speed, though he's past the 30 mark now. And he takes them on again. Blocked by Montanari.
I think Daniele Massaro is playing his best football possibly of his career at this moment in time, Martin. I think he's got to an age where he's got all the experience he needs, and he really is playing some good football.
Hoisted high by Hullet, and Massaro. It's a pretty good team to be playing in when you're reaching maturity as well.
Yes, that's right, and I think the difference between these two teams today, I think both sides obviously have players of enormous technique, but when you watch Milan play, they work so hard for each other to get the ball back when they've lost it, and I think that is the main difference between them and the rest of the Italian Football League at this moment.
being held. So it's another Milan free kick. We've had just over 33 minutes. One goal from Marco VanBasten. Costacurta to Maldini. The referee almost wanting to play the ball then. And Inter wouldn't mind having a 12th man. Matthäus. Pushed by Costacurta. Klinsmann nodding his head animatedly in agreement with the decision. Clipped in by Matthäus. Berti. Well, that's the second time he's not wanted to go directly for goal. And he is a midfield player who has got a reasonable scoring record.
I think more from Milan's point of view, that's the second time he's been in there free, Martin, and that's the danger from Milan's point of view. They pack their midfield so they can all join Klinsmann on the break. And Berti's super at doing that. He's equivalent of our Brian Robson, really, when he breaks into the box, and he's a good goal scorer as well.
And that was his subsequent header as well. He tried to angle down, and Klinsmann applauded, recognising the intention. The first of the two derbies last season, Berti settled after Milan had really run the match with a late winner here. Albertini, who is a Milan product, although he has been loaned out since the debut as a 17-year-old. Maldini. Donadoni. Really is a match to delight those of you who appreciate the technical side of the game. VanBasten. Well, after that silly sending off against Roma a few weeks ago, the mistaken identity affair, he's very anxious to get away from any infringement that he does commit without saying too much. He didn't serve a suspension, incidentally, for it, although the referee's decision wasn't changed. It was a special pardon for VanBasten in the end that prevented him being left out of the next match. The authorities very much concerned in Italy to show that the referee is right, even when he's wrong, which, of course, is a fundamental principle of the game. Fontolan. Now Brehme. Berti setting off again. And Baresi with arrogance. It must be heartbreaking if you're an opponent to see a defender in a match of such dimension as this, playing as though it was a training five-a-side.
I think he's the prime example. He has the technique of a centre-forward, and he's obviously a world-class defender.
I should say that if Franco Baresi had an English branch to his fan club, Ray Wilkins would be the president.
Definitely.
And you don't have to apologise for that, Ray. VanBasten for Hullet. Zenga stays on his line, knowing there's a cross to be dealt with. Oh, well, the whistle has gone.
Brilliant football again. I think the ball just stood up on Gullit as he was about to hit it into the box. But Zenga does well on the far post and takes a bit of a knock on the shin. But they're playing some really good football, Milan. They can be very happy with the first half performance.
And with Inter now having to chase the game a little bit more. Of course, there's still plenty of time for patience to bring its reward as well. But there's just that much more space. But the space here for Klinsmann. That's the way it's been going for him this season. Rossi rightly angry. But Klinsmann suddenly had no opponent around him at all. In a central position, just outside the penalty area.
Yes, he's snatching at the ball. I think that is the sign of a player out of confidence, is when when he starts snatching at the ball. And he didn't even hit the target there with a lot of room for himself. And he's definitely having a little snatch at the moment.
Fontolan, who is confined mostly to the left-hand side. So, as Ray was saying, it is a packed Inter midfield, and Klinsmann just ahead of it. Probably very angry with himself. He knew that he's capable of doing better then, and Massaro caught up in the frustration. Consistent theme through recent Milan derbies is that the team that scores first very rarely loses. We shall see. VanBasten helped forward by Montanari though for Inter. Klinsmann looking to set it up, and that's where having a line of players coming from deeper positions has helped Klinsmann when he's got his back to the goal. Bergomi arrived that time. Five minutes to go to half-time. Inter 0, Milan 1. And the scorer of that goal, VanBasten, looking to involve Hullet again. Albertini's first-time cross. Fontolan. Now can Inter get the ball down and pass it with accuracy, and well, the idea is stifled because of the offside trap.
They're being rushed into playing the ball as well. Klinsmann's making runs, and the player on the ball has been put under so much pressure, and that he's rushing to play it.
Massaro giving Brehme an extra problem, but he extricated himself very cleverly with the help of Baresi on the far side. Bergomi. Picked on by Klinsmann. Fontolan. A lot of appealing by Inter. And the game has been stopped, but not where they wanted it to be. Fontolan finally got his first league goal for Inter last week, away to Parma. That would have meant a great deal to him after that savage injury which threatened his career. Ferri, master marker, but VanBasten has proved already that you can't track him all of the time. Free kick to Inter. What a time this would be for them to get level if they possibly can, with half-time approaching. It really would deflate Milan, who are entitled to feel full of bounce at the moment, the way the unit is functioning. But Matthäus takes the free kick. Rossi, oh! Well, he'd approached everything with such confidence, handled everything well before then, and maybe that was overconfidence. That was an elementary error.
And it's the second one he's dropped as well, Martin. That looked an easy ball for him to come and take. It was in no man's game, and he just dropped it.
Albertini making sure that the referee knew he'd been impeded then. Foul by Klinsmann, but Rossi really reminding Milan that this game is by no means over. Milan have the authority, they have the goal. Inter, because it is their home game, have the greater share of support in the allocation of tickets. as supporters concerned as to what Massaro might do to the team now, and he's got a free kick. He's good at that.
An atrocious decision. Massaro's not aware of Berti coming up on his left-hand shoulder, just bundles into him and falls on the floor. That's an awful refereeing decision. There we see it again. Massaro wasn't aware that Berti was there, and he carries the ball away with no problem. It's a shame he carried on with the ball, actually, Massaro, because Hulit was coming up on the right-hand side like a steam train. It would have been lovely to have seen the ball played inside the fullback.
Donadoni with a free kick. And Ferri on top of VanBasten and on top of his job then. And Brehme having a little game of his own with the touchline and with Hulit. And the linesman didn't see anything wrong. The referee does now, and it's a free kick to Inter in the final minute of the first half. Bergomi. Berti, Klinsmann, little give and go. Klinsmann. The game has been stopped, and Inter are very angry about that. It's going to be their free kick, and that's the real cause for the disappointment. Baresi, who has been booked, complaining that something happened off the ball then.
It was a good little 1-2, and Klinsmann just tries to hook the ball round. I thought that was a bit unfair to give a free kick even, but in saying that, Klinsmann went on, and he was very unfortunate that the referee blew for a foul. If he'd gone past Baresi, would have definitely got a shot in on goal.
Well, we're now into stoppage time. It's been a first half in which one has found superlatives again for the football that Milan can play, but the picture might change drastically here. Baresi rolls it to Brehme, and Milan can breathe again. Pierluigi Pairetto, who earns his living as a vet, incidentally, has, I don't know whether there's any similarity between that profession and what we're seeing him do this afternoon, but he has handled these fixtures before, and he's certainly looked very composed while there were some fairly chaotic reactions going on around him.
Yes, I think we talk about players being nervous. We don't seem to take into consideration that the referee's bound to be nervous in a big game like this as well. And a couple of the decisions that I've criticised him on, obviously through nerves of his own. Berti,
who has looked to be a major thorn in the side of Milan. There haven't been many of them. Klinsmann has made his runs. He has, as we've been stressing, looked what he is, a striker in need of a goal. But the more incisive football throughout the first half has come from the team that's leading. Inter mounting a sturdy finish for the first 45 minutes. Massaro stretching them on this near side again, though. And Hulit. The cross takes out Zenga, knocked back by VanBasten. Massaro wallops it into the net, but the whistle has gone. Is certainly the object of the wrath of Inter, particularly, obviously they got the decision that time, but particularly in the way the goal was scored, which led to lengthy protests, but was the reward that Milan deserved for an excellent move in that particular attack, which Massaro and Hulit played a major part, and was rounded off by Marco VanBasten, but also for the quality of their general play until the last 10 minutes or so, and they're having to dart in now at the end of the ground where the Inter supporters are congregated, and I'm not too sure they're very selective who they're throwing missiles at. That's an unseemly end. Well, the first half was typical of these derby days in Milan. Plenty of fine football, some fiery moments as well. And Milan certainly deserving to be a goal in front, but they will have perhaps spoken at half-time about the way that Inter did just begin to offer a little more to threaten that lead as the half drew to a close. Incidentally, here we've also had the opportunity to study the goal again, and if there was any offside in the move, suggestion perhaps that VanBasten in the centre of the picture was offside as the move built up rather than when the ball was played to him. And maybe that's why the Inter players came out for the second half, still discussing the matter with referee Pareto. It's in the history books now. But Inter have a free kick. Remember, Baresi, Franco Baresi, that is already booked for not going back the full distance. Matthäus, we've seen him put those between the posts before. Fontolan was following in. That one flew just outside. Zenga had a long-range view of it.
Yeah, tremendous shot. Not the best ball I've ever seen in my life, but that was a terrific shot and just a whisper away.
Ray Wilkins, how do you think Milan will approach the second half now?
I think they're going to have to watch for the first 20 minutes to stem the tide. Obviously, Inter have had a stern old talking to in the dressing room, and they'll be coming out with all guns blazing. And if Milan get through the first 20 minutes and get back to the way they were playing in the first half, they'll be more than happy with that situation.
If Inter are looking for alternatives from the bench, they've got, of course, Ciocci, who scored regularly last season when he was with Cesena. And Desideri, a midfield player with an eye for goal, who has been in the side, and indeed is their leading scorer with a rather paltry 3 in the league this season. But Orrico has to ponder on those possibilities.
I think we've seen a slight change already, Martin. Baggio has been marking Hulit on the right-hand side of the field. He's probably had enough of him keep running him back to his own goal, and that's twice we've seen him break down the left-hand side and get good crosses in, making Gullit defend more so than attack.
More Inter appeals for offside. It's linesman answered the call. Milan, who can't complain about getting caught in a trap where they've set the standards. Brehme. Now Ferri. Bergomi. Often a marker in the pass or a sweeper. But really a right back in this inter-zonal formation. Ancelotti, it can't be easy for him to just be a substitute in a match of this moment. He could be such an influential player if required, even at the age of 32.
Yes, I think it's at a time when we will see Matthäus start pushing forward more from midfield and possibly be a bit too strong for Albertini. But if our friend Ancelotti was in there, he could actually stem those runs.
In the first half, Matthäus content really to let Berti get more advanced of the pair of them. Matthäus to take this free kick. Dealt with by Rijkaard. Matthäus again. Berti. Come quite as comfortably as Beppe Baresi would have liked. And Hulit wondering whether the goalkeeper might come for that. In the end, the ball beat everybody. And just a little comment passed initially between Rossi and Hulit, and Baresi, who has the final say on all matters defensive, one would imagine, pointing out any error on either part.
I think they could lead that situation up to Hulit. He's played as a sweeper for the national team in Holland, as well as PSV Eindhoven when he played there. So I don't think there's any problem with him from the defensive side of the game.
Maldini.
They are pushing up more Inter from the back. They're not allowing the game to be stretched that far. They want to condense it more and win more of the knockdowns, and they've started off very well in the second half.
Fontolan, here is a knockdown that Klinsmann gets onto, and Berti. But Maldini was sent tumbling. But really it seems that Inter want to take Milan on at their own game in terms of the basic tactical approach. And Italy, rather, which was the home of the man-for-man game. Well, it's getting a good look amongst the top clubs at a different way of playing. For the moment, Ferri, though, disputing the free kick given against Inter. We're 6 minutes into the second half, and Inter cannot afford to go 2 goals adrift. Milan have conceded only 5 in the 11 league games before today. They've now taken their season's tally to 20 scored, starting the day as the top scorers in the division as well as the league leaders. Being chased in that respect by an unlikely side, Foggia, who have really enlivened the campaign with their goal power. So Zenga has the ball where he wants them. Rijkaard, and the wall does its job. Hulit, it's an awkward ball to hit. And whether he was trying to get it at goal or just across the face, it's certainly where it ended up. Zenga again berating the linesman, and that's why he's in trouble.
And I think the referee's right as well. Zenga actually has a pop at everybody after every decision that's made, and that's good refereeing. That's putting him in his place.
Well, he's played 53 times for Italy. His place now under threat. He was out of the Inter side injured when the last international was played, and Pagliuca of Sampdoria got in. He's always been a colourful character. His life is high profile. And now he's upset Pierluigi Pairetto, and the referee, I think, quite entitled to produce the yellow card for dissent. Desideri is on for Inter. That's not a surprise. Perhaps the only surprise that wasn't made at half-time. And this is Maldini cropping up in the middle. Hulit, who is, amongst all his gifts, expert in the air as well. And sometimes a player coming in from the right-hand side can get freedom to head for goal more than the central strikers who are well marked. VanBasten is offside, so Desideri on. Ray, I'm sure you would go along with that tactical switch.
Yes, I think that had to happen. Inter have got to get the ball into the Milan half and hold the ball in there to allow the players from the midfield to come and join them. And Desideri is an experienced forward player, and I'm sure he'll do just that job.
Oh, Berti and Klinsmann. Milan are stunned. Klinsmann is thrilled. And Zenga goes to join in the delight. They can't believe their luck. They're level. And Desideri played a part. It was his cross first of all. And Berti followed up on a weak header from Costacurta. Klinsmann got the benefit of that. And his poor spell in front of goal is over. It's his first goal of the season, and what a time to get it.
It's a smashing finish. It was a poor header from Costacurta, but as the ball come back, he got himself into a great shape and hit the ball into the floor, and there was no hope for Rossi. But Inter have started very positively in the second half, and they deserve that goal for the way they've come out and attacked Milan.
First of all, it was Marco van Basten of Milan and Holland. Now Jürgen Klinsmann of Inter and Germany. The derby is level. Brehme. Baresi. And reward for Inter, who finished the first half strongly. And exactly as Ray has pointed out, started the second half with plenty of enterprise. But here's Massaro. Zenga gives you a textbook example of how to make that kind of save. Pulling the ball into the body. No chance of it squirming free. Tiny Milan finisher following it. Fontolan. Berti. What it has meant, though, is that Milan have to try and recapture the rhythm. And they can't now get the luxury of having a position that they could defend. A draw wouldn't be a disaster for them, but it would be disappointing given their superiority over the first half an hour of the match. Well, Capello has something to say, and he's entitled to comment on some defensive disorder, really. And we invite Ray to join us, knowing that he has a place of Milan in his heart. And you're looking a bit disappointed, Ray.
I'm dejected, Martin. I am a Milan supporter. I love the way they play their football, and obviously Milan does have a big part in my life anyway. They did have. But it's a super game. I'm thoroughly enjoying the afternoon. It's a great game of football. You know, Milan obviously had the better of the first half, but now Inter have come right back in it, and I think we've got a really terrific game on our hands now.
And maybe we'll be witnessing a rare occasion here, a team conceding the first goal in the derby, actually coming out as winners. Inter have got the chance of doing that. They've been debited here in a disciplinary sense, the yellow card for Bergomi. Tassotti taking issue with Bergomi in particular. It always amuses me when other defenders complain when they'll just go back into the other half and dish it out themselves.
Yeah, that's right, but that was a pretty awful challenge. The ball bounced up and it just come through on Massaro's thigh. But I think the Tassotti-Bergomi confrontation goes back many years. Many years. And also, Phil, had it not been perhaps for Bergomi, Tassotti may well have played for the national team slightly more. He's an excellent defender and he's been a great player for Milan. But for the fact that Bergomi has often played in the same position, it's really limited his outings.
Yes, limited his outings to 0, in fact. And it must have been disappointing for Tassotti because Costacurta, his teammate, played in the last international in Tassotti's position. I think maybe his chance has gone, although with Orrico Sacchi now in charge, if there are some injuries, he certainly wouldn't let Italy down. Headed on by Rijkaard. Back by Donadoni, and Milan of the second half, not the Milan of the first. And look at Klinsmann. Well, he must have jumped an extra 6 inches then. That's what a goal can do. It. And Milan not getting to the ball as quickly and as purposefully as they were doing earlier in the game. Rijkaard trying now to take the setback in their stride. Klinsmann. Desideri, hooked on by Matthäus. And it's another limp header by Costacurta. He made up for it with the tackle, although Klinsmann somewhat carried the ball into him. Desideri's offside. Desideri, who was born in Rome, has played for Roma in passionate affairs against Lazio, of course. And then signed for Juventus and expected to play in the Turin derbies this year, and has ended up in a complicated transfer saga, wearing the blue and black stripes of Inter. VanBasten for Hullet. Massaro making his run into the middle. Brehme made sure that the ball didn't arrive in that area. But as we've seen so often in the past, one of the strengths of Milan is their ability to get goals from set plays. With VanBasten, with Hullet, with Maldini, they've got excellent players to attack corners. Just over 15 minutes gone in the second half. Ferri got to it though. Oh, and what's Klinsmann doing? That would have wiped the smile off his face if it had gone straight to Hullet. Rijkaard. Baresi. Easily getting the better of Berti. Donadoni, that's a terrific pass. Tassotti. VanBasten. And again. Rijkaard. Well, some of the might of Milan was back in evidence then from the moment the ball was swung across to the far side by Franco Baresi. A pass that had Ray Wilkins puffing out his cheeks in admiration.
It really was a fabulous pass, but the football itself after that pass was just fantastic. It was quick and it was early, and that's the main reason why Milan are such a good team. They see a pass and they play the pass, and their movement off the ball was excellent, and we nearly saw the second goal. Here we see VanBasten. That was a tremendous dummy. He takes it inside, but just over carries it, goes for the challenge, and the ball dropped to Rijkaard. Hullet, in actual fact, was standing just to the left of him. Had he played it to him, I'm sure he'd have got a clean strike on goal. But that's what Milan have got to do. They've got to get back to the first half. Obviously, it's more difficult now because Inter are pressing up and squeezing them, and the play is more condensed and more confined, and Milan don't have the spaces they did in the first half. But they've got to get the ball into the Inter half and start passing it around as they did then. And I'm sure if they do so, we'll see more goals this afternoon.
We should pay tribute to that tackle by Baggio on VanBasten that rescued Inter, and although the ball rolled for Rijkaard, the other angle from behind the goal proved just how far off target Rijkaard's shot was. Klinsmann. Desideri. And Klinsmann is really a free spirit again here. He was talking, of course, in the summer about retiring, going off wandering around California. Obviously, he could afford to do that. I just wonder whether that got into his mind, and he hasn't done himself justice this season. But a timely return to form for him. Massaro. Over-elaborating. That's not really Milan's style, and Hullet was angry with him. Not the first exchange between the two of them this afternoon.
Yes, he's right to have a little pop at Massaro there. He had plenty of options in which he could have rolled the ball off, but he was a little bit greedy there on the edge of the box.
Maldini. Bergomi, who's taken on the captain's armband with the departure of Baresi to accommodate Desideri. Brehme. Inter 1, Milan 1. Berti, good tackle by Rijkaard. He's long in the leg, and he needed to be then to reach the ball. Berti, who has the build of a natural runner and a sharp football brain to go with it. Oh, and Desideri. Well, he's got goals like that for Roma past few years, coming from midfield with an acute sense of timing. It was a chance.
It was an excellent chance, and as you said before, I think Klinsmann has got another 6 inches in his leap, and as he flicked it on, Desideri took it on his chest and just hit it past the upright. He'd be very disappointed that he didn't actually hit the target here, because he is really is a recognised goal scorer.
And Donadoni in particular will be relieved, because he was caught watching the ball rather than watching the man, and Desideri got inside him. Klinsmann is everywhere, and it's not only playing well, but he's getting some luck as well. And Baresi is off. A sensation in the Milan derby. It's a second booking, and the player who's given the club so much service down the years in this fixture, shortly after his brother has been substituted on the other side. Franco Baresi gets the red card, and Milan are down to 10 men.
Yes, and unfortunately, I think I'm his greatest fan, and that he was committed to a tackle there, and it was his second bookable offence, and he definitely pulled Desideri down, and he has to go off the field. But it's a shame that he got booked for such a silly thing in the first half, in actual fact. Filippo Gali's coming on. He's a super defender as well, and it must be very reassuring for Milan to know they have such a competent player coming on the field.
Well, Massaro is sacrificed now to get the defender on in Baresi's place. Filippo Gali, who's been with Milan since 1983, knows all about the system at the back. VanBasten having to help out. These are very difficult times for the league leaders. The news will be echoing around all the First Division grounds this afternoon. As I said at the outset, really important for the chasing pack, for Inter to stop Milan getting another victory here and maybe moving further away with their lead. Lovely work by Fontolan, a swift change of direction. Filippo Gali, who incidentally is no relation to the former Milan goalkeeper, Giovanni Gali.
He had a really promising career in front of him, Martin, until a couple of years ago, and he had a horrific knee operation, a rebuilding of the knee, and which kept him out of the side for a good couple of years. And Costacurta's come in and done exceptionally well. Consequently, Filippo found himself on the bench, but he really is a good player, and he'll absolutely be loving this coming on in the Milan derby.
Well, we're 3/4 of the way through the match. A goal apiece, but Inter have 11 players to Milan's 10. And how the fortunes have changed. Really coming immediately after Zenga's clash with the linesman. At the same time, Desideri came on as a substitute. Within a few seconds, there was a goal for Inter. And Desideri involved in the incident that led to the expulsion of Franco Baresi, no less. Matthäus. Desideri, whose thoughts are always geared to attack. Oh, Klinsmann knew he wasn't going to get the ball. His free kick was the next target, and he hasn't got that either. Flicked on by Rijkaard, and dangerous play by Ferri. Foot was chest high around VanBasten. Well, it was looking at players like VanBasten and what they'd achieved this season that the shortfall of Klinsmann was really most notable. But really, the way the game is going at the moment, one would expect to maybe see more of Klinsmann than VanBasten. Although there's a chance for a cross to reach him here. Fontolan. Carefully down for Brehme. Montanari deciding to come forward. Matthäus. And Inter have the luxury here of making Milan do the chasing with the extra man. Ferri. In the past hasn't been shy of shooting from long range, has one or two spectacular goals to his name. Just thought better of having a pot at goal then. All good work from Desideri. Filippo Galli's header nearly came for Fontolan to knock back across goal, almost in the manner of the way Milan conceded a goal. Desideri, great control, and Maldini was able to come back in and challenge again. As Desideri believes that there was an infringement then, and Zenga, who could not possibly have had any vantage point at all.
That was brilliant ball control, and Maldini, we see, just gets back. Oh my word, he did actually look as if he pushed him in the back. That could well have been a penalty, and I don't think they could have had too many arguments as well.
The players so close together that I don't think the referee could see exactly what was going on. And of course, he gave the defender the benefit of the doubt. It is a corner. And a deep one, Hullet helping out. And Desideri is everywhere.
But they're doing it exactly right, Inter. When you have an extra man, the way to beat the 10 men is to keep the ball on the move and pass it quick and pass it easy. And you'll find that you will eventually get your extra man in, and they're doing it very well, Inter, and making Milan chase all over the place.
And it's causing huge consternation. It's time now for Ivani to get the call for Milan, although the change not yet made. Give another indication of the depth of Capello's squad, though. Ivani, who's been another marvellous servant here, been at the club since 1979. Never complains, gets on with it up and down the left-hand side. Brehme. Matthäus, but Inter must feel now they are in the driving seat. But often there's a strange psychology in the Italian game, and that might curiously prey on their minds, particularly if Milan were to hit them on the break, as they're looking to do here with Rijkaard. Donadoni. Wouldn't be surprised if it was Donadoni who went off, so that Ivani could block this near side where Desideri is causing chaos to Milan at the moment. Costacurta. And there's a holding operation in action.
I think it could also be Albertini that might come off, Martin. He's a young man, and these games do definitely take it out of you. And they may well push Donadoni into the centre of the midfield and play Ivani on the left-hand side.
Well, it runs for Hullet. Donadoni at the moment is joining VanBasten in the centre. And he's beaten, as one would rather expect, by Bergomi in those circumstances. It's more of a hopeful ball by Hullet that time. Matthäus still keeping the right tempo for Inter. Brehme. Fontolan. Inter happy to bide their time, knowing that just one opening could bring pandemonium to their supporters and absolute delirium. And delight really of a double nature, not just winning a derby game, that in itself is ultimately satisfying, but closing the gap between the two sides, which was 5 points at the outset of play. Milan now mainly with a draw on their mind, but Costacurta recognising that there is talent in attack still. And he, of course, having been culpable in the goal, has perhaps a greater incentive than most to perhaps trigger an attack that could lead to Milan regaining the lead. Klinsmann reacting sharply again. Fontolan, and I think rightly offside.
Looked a very close one, very close. Klinsmann released the ball. It looked just in time, but up they came again, Milan. Without Baresi, they still look a very well organised side.
So we're inside the last 15 minutes of a compelling Milan derby. Inter coming good in the second half. Apart from their succession of drawn games, the other disappointment for Inter this season, going out of the UEFA Cup. They were the holders, of course, to rather unfashionable opposition in Boa Vista from Portugal. A blow in football terms, but also in financial terms as well. Milan, let me remind you again, not in European competition this season, serving a one-year ban for their disgraceful behaviour in Marseille. Desideri. Now Matthäus. Oh, Matthäus' first touch, not a good one then, and he's been caught by Rijkaard. And VanBasten with Matthäus in pursuit. And now the referee's got to take some action here. Matthäus prepared to get the yellow card in the circumstances. Terrified, really, of what his error might have led to.
That's right, and by the look of the smile on his face, he was quite happy just to pick up the yellow, because he definitely went for VanBasten there. VanBasten ignoring the run of Rijkaard and going on his own, and he'd actually gone past the defender, and Matthäus has pulled him down. Very dangerous time for Inter. Milan have a number of players that could probably put this in the back of the net.
Malevani's put the top back on again, although he's still doing the stretching exercises. So Capello still going with the side that's out on the pitch at the moment, which lacks Franco Baresi. Sent off. Well, all Inter's good work in the second half could be wiped out here if Milan can find the right free kick. Tassotti has joined the wall. Albertini is there. Rijkaard and Hullet as well. Frank Rijkaard having a very long look. He breaks, and Albertini complaining that the referee really should be moving that line of opponents further back. Albertini takes it, it deflects off the wall. It's rescued here for Milan by Paolo Maldini. Not an easy ball to cross, but he wanted to do that rather than just let it run out of play. Donadoni, VanBasten hovering in the middle. It's over him, and Hullet, and now VanBasten going in, and he'll stay in there because it's a corner. And suddenly the Inter fans have become a bit uneasy. It was glory, glory for them. They were thrilled with the goal, delighted to see that old foe, Franco Baresi, get the red card. But now Milan have the corner, but make no use of it at all.
That was a wasted corner. Obviously playing with 10 men, you've got to make the most of those situations, and Donadoni's just given a good back pass to Zenga there.
Matthäus. In each of the last two seasons, there's been one win apiece for the old adversaries in the league. Hullet, look at it. He's burnt past Brehme. It was as if Andy Brehme wasn't there, and it, enjoyed the run, but not the result of it.
Well, that was unbelievable. You know, Brehme is obviously a world-class defender, and he'd gone with the run of Goulet on the 1-2 with VanBasten, and he must have given him 5 yards, and he made him look as if he was standing still. Absolutely magnificent run, and obviously the pace he was going at, there wasn't any Milan players that could get in the box with him.
Fontolan off. Ciocci, who's made some telling contributions from the bench already this season. Sadly, from his point of view, that's where he sat for much of the time. Returning to Inter, he was their player. He made his debut in 1987, left October 88 to Padova, Ancona and Cesena were other ports of call, spectacularly with Cesena, which earned him his return to Inter. Donadoni. Well, for half an hour, Milan played like champions. And now, in real adversity, in a different way, they're playing like champions again. Hullet.
What a man he is. He's just been on a 70-yard run. He's just gone on another one there, and he's won a corner, I think, for Milan. He really is back to his best and back to fitness, which is nice to see. But it is interesting to see with Milan going down to 10 men, the way Hullet, Rijkaard in particular, have gone and got hold of the ball and got and taken a grip of the game.
Donadoni with the corner. It'll come the way of Tassotti. But the best you can say about that, it's used up a bit of time.
And he possibly had that in mind as well. If he's going to miss, he's going to miss high, and Melrose a cagey old customer.
Comes from Rome, the definitive Roman nose. Played with Lazio for a little while, but really has given the majority of his career to Milan. His 12th season now. Brehme. Well, Inter have obviously the opportunity here to get a victory. How much they're going to go for it hell for leather, we must wait and see. Understandable note of caution really brought about from their point of view by the way Milan have played over the last 5 minutes or so. Hullet playing like 2 men on the far side. He's beaten to it by Brehme, although not to Milan's cost. Rijkaard. Just want to knock the ball over the top for him to chase, really. Just a head in field. Montanari missed that deliberately. It worked out well enough for Inter. 7 minutes left. 1-1. Milan playing with real aristocratic class for much of the first half. Inter matching them and more in the second half.
And the way Milan are putting Inter under pressure here on the ball, you'd think it was them that had the 11 men.
Albertini was knocked as the pair of them jumped then. And I think he believed that it was going to be a free kick to Milan, which was my first reaction. It's almost an avuncular conversation here between a referee who's been around for a good while and a young player. But the decision has gone Inter's way. Now, is this going to be the moment for them? If they win nothing this season, but win this match, it'll be something to look back upon. And it is there for the taking, in that they're playing against 10 men. But those 10 men are all very, very talented indeed. And you feel that Milan could beat some of the other sides in the Italian First Division with 9. Oh, well stopped by Rossi from Matthäus. In came Klinsmann. It was a spectacular shot.
Yeah, this shot really flew. Matthäus really gives this everything, and it really is a nice stop as well from Rossi. Gets every part of his body behind that and just pushes it out. But they can't give too many of them away. Matthäus is very dangerous from that sort of distance.
It's a real dilemma for the goalkeeper. They can be criticised for knocking the ball back into play, but if you don't get solid contact behind a shot of that venom, you can brush aside any attempts just to push it round the post.
That's right, and I think the way these guys strike the ball as well, Martin, it's just nice for the lads to actually to get themselves behind the ball. These balls that they play with nowadays, they definitely move around, and I think the goalkeeper's just pleased to get some part of his body on it.
That certainly moved, I would say, in the last 5 or 6 yards of flight. And while Rossi was equal to it. Here's Desideri. Ferri. Held in by Brehme. Klinsmann, that's Berti. Klinsmann is offside. That's where Brehme is so good. Now Costacurta complaining, I think, that the flag didn't go up straight away. And he gets a yellow card, even though Milan had the free kick. And Costacurta is not having a particularly happy afternoon.
I think he's getting a little bit frustrated. He's been in wrong positions on a couple of times, and balls have just gone over his head when he should be heading them clear. Klinsmann broke off his shoulder a number of times, and that's just a bit of frustration creeping in there.
But another slip from his point of view. We've seen him sent off before, Costacurta. He was one of a whole posse that went on that crucial day in Verona a couple of years ago. Along, if memory serves me right, with Rijkaard and VanBasten and Orrico himself. And Milan lost any chance they had of winning the championship. Extraordinary match. Just going back to the Baresi sending off, it occurred to me at the time that the referee was almost apologising for having to do it. It was a technical decision. Such is the awe in which Baresi is held, really, in the Italian game. But it was the right decision. And Milan are still having to cope with the consequences of that. But there are 3 minutes to go.
And they are coping very well. It's been an intriguing second half with the sending off, obviously, of Franco Baresi. Milan have had to change their game slightly. But it really has been a good match and a very entertaining game as well.
And really the only settling for a draw has come since Milan were put in this rather perilous position, and even that hasn't been total, because Hullet has had ideas of his own with those raids down the right. And Bergomi got a bang then. Well, Inter will extend their unbeaten run to 8 games if it stays at 1-1. And Milan still unbeaten for the season, but there could be some nervy moments yet. 2 minutes plus stoppage time. And Klinsmann caught around the larynx. VanBasten, it's still in play, and now Bergomi. Well, VanBasten seemed to be acting as counsel for Bergomi then. I don't know what Bergomi's done to deserve that. Maybe it's just mutual respect.
He anticipated the tackle very well, VanBasten. As he took him on, he knew exactly when he was going to make the challenge, and he zipped it into the corner and away. He had no option but to pull him down.
Donadoni. Matthäus appreciating, I'm sure, that although it's easy to sit where we are and look for an Inter victory in these circumstances, but while there's still life in the game, there's still danger in Milan. Matthäus clears. And Galli coming well forward to make the challenge on Klinsmann. Got to the ball, but was pushing as he did so. He's back in a beat now, much deeper in his own half. Brehme, with his capacity to loft the ball forward delicately and create chances. He's made himself available again on the left, but need to look to the opposite side. Matthäus hoists it in. Klinsmann competing well again. Now Brehme. dinking it back. Berti in there, difficult header for Maldini. And Galli knew the safe way out. Rijkaard. Ferri, well aware of the time on the clock, which is coming up to the 90 minutes. And Donadoni pursued doggedly by Nicola Berti. Here he is again. Oh, Galli's touch wasn't very good. Costacurta helped him. Galli was trying to tee the ball up for himself to clear, and Costacurta, in coming to the rescue, was caught. As you can see, we're into stoppage time now. Ray, it's always a pleasure to have access to these matches, and it's been the same again today.
It certainly has. We've been privileged to watch this game. It's been a super game of football. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the amount of goals that we thought at one stage that we might see, but I think it's had everything. It's been a very intriguing match.
And a fair result, if this is to be the result?
I think it's a fair result, yes. But it isn't over yet, and with players of the class of Klinsmann, VanBasten and the likes of Hulit, we still may see a victory.
But the referee has brought it to a halt straight away. So 1-1, the final score. Milan gave us their best football in the opening half an hour when their style was embroidered by VanBasten's goal, his 8th of the season. They also played well in adversity after Franco Baresi was sensationally sent off. Inter, either side of half-time, were strong and committed, and they made a good substitution to get Desideri on. And Jurgen Klinsmann is back in business in front of goal. That's very good news for them as well. Inter 1, Milan 1.
E mi torna ancora in mente